I'm waiting for everybody coming in. Feel I told you, Matt. You can't stay with me. It's just not right. I don't even know you, but I do want to help you. Richard signed. I must be crazy because the last two people who tried to help, seem to have ended up dead. And personally, I had other plans. But at least we can take a look into Omega 1. I mean, forget switches and all that stuff. The old power station seems to be at the heart of whatever it is that's going on. You said you know the man who built it. I'll call him tomorrow, all right? Matt nodded. Good night then. Richard turned to go. Wait, Matt said, there was something I didn't tell you. Richard hovered once again in the doorway. You said you wanted to know who I am, so you might as well know all of it. My mum always used to say I was strange. All my life I've been involved in a lot of strange things, Miss Deverill and all the rest of it. I sometimes think it was meant to happen. I'm meant to be here. I don't know why the night before my mum and dad were killed. I had a bad dream. I often had dreams, but this was something else. I saw the bridge. I saw the tire burst. I even saw the water flooding in through the windows, filling the car. It was like I was in the car with them, and it was horrible. I couldn't breathe. He stopped. He had never told anyone this before, and when I woke up the next morning, I knew they would never get to the wedding. I know the accident was going to happen exactly the way it did. Matt hesitated. This was the difficult part. My dad was like you. He didn't believe in stuff like witches and magic and things. He couldn't understand. I suppose it was because he was a doctor. And I know that if I told him about my dream, he'd just get angry. It had happened before once or twice when I was very young. Dad would say I was just being silly, letting my imagination run away with me. And maybe he was right. That's what I told myself. It's just a dream. It's just a dream. Everything's going to be all right. Don't get into trouble with Dad. So I said nothing. But I was too scared to get in the car. I pretended I was ill. I threw a tantrum and made them leave me with Miss Green. Next door I was only young. I didn't know what was going on. I still didn't, but I know that I'm different sometimes. I seem to be able to do things that are impossible. You don't believe me, Richard, but I can break a jug just by looking at it. I can do it. I have done it. I know when something bad is going to happen before it does. When I was in the warehouse, I know the guard was there, and tonight maybe I managed to call to you when I was in the bog without opening my mouth. I didn't know. It's like I've got some sort of power, but I can't control it. It just flickers on and off by itself. Matt yawned. Suddenly he was exhausted. He'd had enough. I told Miss Green, he said. I told her that my mum and dad weren't going to come back from the wedding. I told her about the tire. I even know about the bridge. About the tire, I even know about the bridge and the river underneath. She got very angry with me. She didn't want to hear all this stuff. And what was she meant to do? She couldn't ring my parents and tell them not to go to the wedding. In the end, she told me to go out and play in the garden. She didn't want to hear anymore. I was still out in the garden when the police arrived, and I'll never forget the look on her face. She was horrified. More than that, she was actually sick, and it wasn't just because of what had happened. What had happened to my parents. She was horrified and sick because of me. And the thing is, Richard, Richard, I don't believe in magic either. I didn't believe in myself, and almost every hour of the day since then I've asked myself why I didn't try to warn my mum and dad. I could have saved their lives, but I said nothing. I just let them drive off by themselves. Every day I've woke up knowing that I'm to blame. It's my fault they're no longer here. Matt turned over and lay still. Matt turned over and lay still. Richard looked at the sleeping boy for a long time. Then he turned out the lights and crept quietly downstairs. Matt woke up slowly and with a sense of relief, and it had been the best sleep I'd had for weeks. And for once there had been no dreams. It looks like for a few moments to get used to the unfamiliar surroundings and remember where he was. His eyes took in a slanting roof. Slating roof, a narrow window with the sun already shining brightly through a box of old paperbacks and an alarm clock showing 10 o'clock when he remembered the events of the previous okay. Previous night, the power station, the dogs, the chase through the wood. He had told Richard Cole everything, even the truth, about the way his parents had died. For 6 years he had managed to live with the knowledge of what he'd done. I could have warned them, I didn't. And finally he had abandoned himself to a journalist who probably didn't believe him anyway. He wished now that he hadn't. He felt embarrassed. He remembered how Richard had dismissed his therapies about witchcraft and magic. It wasn't surprisingly if it had been the other way round. He wouldn't have believed it himself. And yet he knew what had happened. He had lived through it. The dogs had come out of the flames. The Tom Burgess had died trying to warn him, and then there was questions of his own powers. He had seen at the car accident. He had seen the car accident that had killed his parents. Before it had happened, it was the reason he was still alive. And there had been other things too. The jug of water had smashed in the detonation centre. And the night before, the way he had somehow managed to get Richard to stop his car. Suppose Matt lay back against the pillows. Suppose he had some sort of special ability. The police report he had found in Miss Deverell's bedroom had mentioned his prognative abilities. By that they meant his ability to see the future. Somehow Miss Deverell had got hold of a copy, and that was why she wanted him. Not because of who he was, because of what he was. But that was ridiculous. Matt had seen X-Men and Spider-Man at the cinemas, superheroes. He even liked the comics, but was he really pretending that he had some sort of superpowers? 2. He had never been bitten by a radioactive spider or zapped by a mad scientist inside a space machine. He was just an ordinary teenager who had got himself into trouble, but had broken the jug of water in the destination centre. He had gazed at it across the room, and it had shattered. There was a glass vase on the windowsill. It was about 15 centimetres high, filled with pens and pencils. Matt found himself gazing at it. All right, why not? He began to concrete. Concrete, breathing slowly and evenly, his back supported by the pillow without moving. He focused on all his attention on the vase. He could do it. If he ordered the vase to smash itself, it would explode. Then and there, he had done it before. He would do it now. then he would do it again for Richard, and after that the journalist would have to believe him. He could feel the thought patterns emanating from his head. The vase filled his vision. Break, damn you, break, he tried to imagine, the glass blowing itself apart. As if by imagining it he could make it happen, but it didn't move. Matt was gritting his teeth, now holding his breath, desperately trying to make it break. He stopped, his chest fell, and he turned his head aside. Who did he think he was kidding? He wasn't an X-Man, more like an zero kid. There was new clothes piled at the bottom of the bed, jeans and sweatshirts. Richard must have come in some time early that morning, and thought he had threatened to throw them away. He also washed Matt's trainers. They were still damp, but at least were clean. Matt got dressed and went downstairs. He found Richard in the kitchen boiling eggs. I was wondering when you'd get up. Richard said, "Did you sleep okay?" "Yes, thanks. Where did you get the clothes?" There was a shop down. There there was a shop down this road. I had to guess your size. He pointed at the bubbling saucepan. "I'm just making breakfast. Do you like your eggs hard or soft?" "I don't mind. They've been 20 minutes. I have a feeling they be hard." They sat down at the table and ate together. "So what happens now?" Matt asked. "Right now, we have to be careful. Miss Deverill and her friends will be looking for you. They might even have called the police and reported you missing. And if they find you with me, we'll both be in trouble. You can't just pick up 14-year-old kids those days and hang out with them. Not that I intended to hang out with you. As soon as we found out what's going on, it's goodbye. No offense, but there's only room in this place for one." "That's fine by me." Disney book story friend. Room in this place for me. For one, that's fine by me. Anyway, I've been busy while you were sleeping. Anyway, I've been busy while you were asleep. I made a few calls. The first one was to Sir Michael Mash. Sir Michael Mash, the scientist, is agreed to see us at 11:30. We're going to Manchester. Why? When you come to the newspaper office, you told me about a book you'd found in the library written by someone called Elizabeth Ashwood. She quite well known. This will probably grab you. Matt, she writes about black magic and witchcraft. That sort of stuff. We've got a file on her at the Gay Star, and I imagine to of one of our researchers, and she gave me an address for her. No phone number, unfortunately, but we can drive over and see what she has to say. That's great, Matt said. Thank you. Don't thank me if this leads me to a story. I'll be the one thanking you, and it doesn't. Richard thought for a moment. I'll throw you back in the bog. Sir Michael Mass looked very much like the government. Scientist had once been. He was elderly, now well into his 70s. But his eyes had lost none of their intelligence and seemed to demand respect all through. It was a Sunday morning. He was formally dressed in dark suit with a white